The Divrei Torah this evening, Ali Nishmas Yosef ben Moshe HaKohen and Neshama Shav Aliyah Schusay Yogen Aleinu Val Kol Yisrael. The Rashi at the very beginning of this week's parsha, introducing the whole parshas Vayeishev, which starts talking at very great length of the stories of Yosef and Yehuda. And, the narrative of the Torah is going in the most long-winded way that's been until now. It's like more on Yaakov and his children, Yaakov, than there is material on any one of the three of us. So Rashi says that after we had at the end of Parshas Vayishlach in very short form, condensed form, relatively speaking, the whole, history of Esav and how his family expanded. So when we come to Yaakov, who's the Ikar, we're going to speak at much greater length. Esav, we got pottered up in two aliyahs, the whole story of how his empire got founded. When we come to Yaakov, who's the Ikar, we're going to talk at great length. So also, says Rashi, we found that pattern that in Parshas Bereshis, the Torah knocked off 1,000 years in one parsha. The Asar Doros from Adam until Noah. In Parshas Noach, it knocked off another 1,000 years. The Asar Doros from Noach until Abraham. Comes to Parshas we start speaking at great length, about just one person, because he's the Ikar. And Rashi gives a mashal to understand this. And it's this mashal that needs a great deal of analysis to understand the depth of the message. Says Rashi, Mashum Agios Shenafla Ben Achol, a pearl got lost in the sand. Adam Mashbesh Bachol Vekovra Bekvarad Shemosa Magrolis, a person now is going to feel out the sand and put it through a sieve until he finds the pearl. When he finds it, once he finds the pearl, he throws away all the sand and the pebbles and just holds on to the pearl forever after. Sounds beautiful. It doesn't fit at all. Right? What pearl got lost? Right? We're talking about writing a book. Right? The Rebbe Shalom wrote the Chumash. I'm an author, right? I know what I want to write. I know what I don't want to write. If I don't want to write about the Goyim, I don't write about the Goyim. I want to write about Jews, I write about the Jews. Like, there's no symmetry, there's no parallel between the mashal and the nimshal. What pearl got lost and what's sifting? Right? When we write out all these stories of Esav or the stories of the 10 Dors, what sifting are we doing? We're not doing any sifting. I wrote down this stuff, which we say is not Ikar, and then I finally start writing what I do want to write. Over there's a pearl that got lost, and it's somewhere in the sand, and I got to sift through. There's no parallel between the mashal and the nimshal. What? Yeah. Well, of course, for sure there is. The thing is like this. We'll open up with, we'll just posit one more question that relates to this. And that is the very first Rashi in the Torah. The Torah could have just started from Machor Zelachem. It's the very first mitzvah we ever got. So why did the Torah start from Bereshis Bara? Koach Ma'asav Higi Lama Loses Nachalas Goyim. Right, the Kodesh will tell us the story of his deeds, i.e. the creation of the world, to give us an inheritance of nations, that if the Goyim say, you stole Eretz Yisrael from the 7 nations, say, look, God created the world, it's his. He gave it, so it's his, so he gave it to them, took it away from them, gave it to us. Great. So all you need to do is write, Bereshis Bara Kim B'Shema Misaretz, HaChoresh Zelachem Rosh Chodashim. Now you guys got to know, God's the creator, right? So what do we need? The whole Sefer Bereshis after creation, and the first 2 parshas of Sefer Shmois, just go from God created the world, and now HaChoresh Zelachem Rosh Chodashim. The thing is like this, going back to another Rashi, and very close to the beginning of the Torah, very close to the Rashi we just quoted. Bereshis, Bishvil Ator Shnikres Reshis, Bishvil Yisrael Shnikru Reshis. Right, the whole Bria is there for Am Yisrael and for the Torah. So what happened? Something went very wrong. That there's Am Yisrael, that the whole Bria is for them, is just a fraction small fraction of world population. Right? And the Torah, that everything is for the Torah. How many people are learning Torah and how many people are living by the Torah? This is a serious problem. It's like a fraction of the whole people, on the globe, are Jewish, and of that also those who uphold the Torah and learn the Torah. And everything is for the Torah. What happened? So the Indian is like this. What the Svarim say, and the Ramchal talks about this at great length in his Sefer Derech Hashem, section 2, chapter 4, which is the whole parak is about Jew versus Goy, Yisrael v'umas ha'olam. And he says, the original plan was, let's say, Adam Harishon would have not eaten from the Eitz Hadas and just hung tight until Shabbos came in. The game would have been over. Olam Haba would have started right then and there, and in that perfected state that Adam would have earned, he would have had a certain amount of kids, right? That would be the Bnei Olam Haba, and there will be just one nation on earth, the nation of the perfect people. It would be a perfect world, and of course, in that framework, there will be much less people than there are walking the globe today. Just be one nation, the nation of the perfected people. Right? But as a result of the Chet Etz Hadas, so like the Nefesh Chaim says, Eitz Hadas, Tovra Hadas is a lashon of connection, like Adam Yodas Chava Ishto, like they say, to know in the biblical sense. The Eitz Hadas, Tovra, caused the Tov and Ra that were originally separate from each other. Tov was everything that there is. The Ra was contained within the Eitz Hadas and within the Nachash. That was the Ra. This tree, when you eat from fruit, it's Das, Tov, Ra. The Tov and Ra become adulterated in each other. They become mixed. Right? And as you know, that's when we got the Yetzirah as we know him. The Yetzirah before Chet Eitz Hadas was that snake with his arguments. They tried to fool you. Now we got the Yetzirah inside of us. Right? Because the Tov and Ra became adulterated. Kedusha and Tumah, Kodesh and Chol, all in a little bit of a mess, right, with each other. In that framework of happened that, humanity went down to being adulterated with evil, that is the shorish of the Shivim Umas, the 70 nations of the world. Right? They come from that lower form of humanity that Adam fell to because of Chet Eitz Hadas. If not for that sin, there would be only one type of race on earth, one nation. And they would have been what we would call Jews. And this is the secret of what you find throughout Chazal. That Am Yisrael is called Goy Echad Baretz, like the Karbanos by Shmini Atzeres, Parachad, Ayachad, Keneged Uma Yechida. You'll find this throughout the scriptures and throughout Chazal. One nation. We're the one nation. What do you mean? There's like so many of them. There's ganze UN, right? Mero Yikaresu, right? One nation was meant to be. We're the one nation that was meant to be by original divine plan. The rest weren't meant to be. There's only one nation that was meant to be, Am Yisrael. Right? And lost it level. Even though Chasidei Umasom, Yeshtaim Chelek L'Olam Haba, right? Those who will be here, then, they're going to be appendages on Am Yisrael. There's only one nation, Olam Haba. There's Am Yisrael, and there are those who have joined them, either through Gerus or through being subservient to them. Only one nation in the future. There was one nation that was meant to be. There was one nation that there will be. Be'ezer Hashem b'meira b'yameinu. So this, right, adulteration between good and evil, which created the Ummah Ha'olam. Right, so what happened was, in adulteration, when things get mixed with each other, you have the bad coming into the good, like the example we gave before, the Yetzirah becoming internal. We also have the good that goes out to the Sitra Achra. Right? And that's the inyan that there have to be Gerim. Because at the time of Chet Adam Harishon, many neshamas that belonged to the Kedusha went into Golus, to the other side, and they gradually rejoined Am Yisrael. They gradually rejoined the side of Kedusha throughout the ages, gradually through conversion. And as a matter of fact, the Gemara Fureshes in Yavamas, Lo huglu Yisrael levena umos el kadesh yizvasva lehem gerim. Am Yisrael was exiled amongst the Ummah Ha'olam in order to pick up gerim along the way. That's part of the having to deal with goyim. One way we deal with them is we have to go into exile by them. We pick up gerim along the way, and that's at the Chet of Adam Harishon. a lot of neshamas fell out to the side of the Sitra Achra, and they gradually, in course of history, rejoined the Jewish people. But just like there are neshamas of Yisrael, neshamas kedoshas that fell into the tumah that have to be gradually picked up. The same thing goes as far as divrei Torah, right? So just like Vayeishev b'shul Yisrael shenu koreishis, also Vayeishev b'shul Torah, right? The goyim have their power because there are divrei Torah by them. Right? And this is a very, very deep idea. That's what it means that there's a concept of divine sparks that are amongst the goyim that Am Yisrael has to collect. There's gerim, but there's another type of gerim. When Am Yisrael was always in Golus by a different nation or faced a challenge, up against another nation, head to head, Am Yisrael always was mechadish chidushei Torah. Right? Going up against Haman, we came out with a Megillas Esther and a Maseches Megillah, right? Going up against came out with all the halachas of Hanukkah and all the chidushei Torah that there are, and that's when we went head to head with them. Then there's also when we were in Golus, when we were in France, we came out of there with the Tosfos. When we were in Spain, we came out of there with the Ramban and the Rashba and the Ritva, and there's all the divrei Torah that were nischadish all around the world. When we were in Golus, and it's not a coincidence. Those chidushei Torah, those divrei Torah were in Golus by the goyim because of Chet Adam Rishon, and they were redeemed through our interaction with them. We pulled it out. We were mevarer. Those sparks picked up those gerim and picked up those lost divrei Torah, and that's the secret that Moshe Rabbeinu, in Parshas Dvarim, Ho Moshe Beres HaTorah Azois B'Shivim Lashon. He said over the Torah in 70 languages. Who needed to hear the Torah in French and in German? Is that what he said? B'Shivim Lashon. It was a preparation because there's Torah, there's divrei Torah in Golus by the Ummah Sa'olam, and this is a preparation of how to go and pick it up when we get there. So this is the pearl that got lost. The pearl that got lost that we're referring to is that there's sparks of Yidden, right? And there are sparks of divrei Torah that as a result of Chet Adam Rishon got lost amongst the Ummah Sa'olam. Right? There's divrei Torah there. And that's why these people make it into the Chumash. Right? Why these Rishonim make it into the Bible? Right? Because there's divrei Torah by them. But as the divrei Torah that's about them is in the Chumash, we're reclaiming those divine sparks that's sifting. We're pulling out the divine sparks from them. Right? But of course the ikar is to come to the people who are really Jewish, not the sparks of Judaism that are cold and are sifted from them. But that's the inyan, right? That all these stories of these goyim are in our chumash. We're pulling out the divrei Torah that's in Golus by them. Just like we have to pull out the neshamas of gerim that are by them. So the whole act of spelling out, mentioning these goyim in the Bible is an act of sifting, pulling out the divrei Torah that got lost amongst them. So because of the divrei Torah that's by them, that's how they have strength. The divrei Torah that's in them gives them power. When we pull the divrei Torah away from them, they lose their power. They're not leeching off the kedusha anymore. And that's why, in order to conquer Eretz Yisrael back from them, we need the full story of how the goyim developed. We need all their divrei Torah. All the divrei Torah that are by them have to be in Sefer Bereshis. We're given over to us. Koach Ma'asavi Gilamo, the nitzitzis of Torah that are by the goyim, were all given over to us in Sefer Bereshis, and that's how we have the koach to conquer Eretz Yisrael back from them. And that's why the whole story of the Ummah Shalom needs to be in the Bible to give us this koach, to take Eretz Yisrael back to them, because so long as there's divrei Torah by them, they'll have a shaychus to Eretz Yisrael. So this particularly has to do with Hanukkah. We always read Parshas Vayeishev before Hanukkah, right? That Adam Rishon, right? Before the sin, there would have been only one nation, and because of sin, now there's 70. So it's an amazing thing. And it says the Chazal tells us that in the Sefer Torah of Rabbi Meir, it says Matzu Kosov Kosnos Or with an aleph. Adam Rishon was vestments of light with an aleph, right? With an aleph, right? And now the Sefer Torah with an ayin, vestments of skin. So the Sforim explained that Sefer Torah of Rabbi Meir was alluding to what Adam was. Before the sin, the body wasn't a body of skin, it was a body of light. or with an aleph, and went from or with an aleph to or with an ayin, skin. Right? So says Rav Vayeishev, what's the difference between or with an aleph and or with an ayin? Or with aleph, which means light, is gemat aleph 1. Or with an ayin is gematria 70. When we went from light to skin, we went from having only one nation to having the Shivim Umos Olam. Because they all come from how mankind went from light to skin. Right? And when you go from light to skin, it's going from like being sighted to being blind. Light is ability to see. Skin, like eyelids, or like cataracts. And that's what the word or means. Right? Or could be read with an ayin. Could be read iver, blind. Right? And that's Hanukkah. Hanukkah is the festival of lights. Festival of lights. V'choshech zu Yavan. The matter says that Choshech, written by my special, alludes to Yavan, and is the festival of lights, illuminating the darkest. Lights, or with an aleph versus or with an ayin, which is blindness. So with this we can understand a very interesting halacha. With this we'll end. The Ner Chanukah have to burn ad shetichla regel min ashuk, right? And ragla demi, the foot's who's supposed to be out of the marketplace? Who's the last one there? So that's more ragla the Talmudai, right? The Talmudim. Who are the Talmudim? So Rash says Shem Uma. Well, so because of this, there are those who want to say that there might be a din of Persume Nisa to Goyim. But the Gemara says in Yavamis, Noshim B'Tzion Inu, right? That pasuk that the women of Tzion were raped. That refers to Chorban Bayis Rishon. That in the chaos, the people from Talmud came and raped Jewish women and took Jewish women in captivity. There is Jewish blood in the Talmudayim, still mixed in. There's lost pearls over there. And the Chanukah lights is to bring light to those lost pearls, Be'ezer Hashem, to bring them back, B'mhera B'yameinu.